Yeah, so Glenn, I'm gonna hold the mic like this. Like this.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to SMG Viewers Comments from the floor of Guitcon in Markneukirchen, Germany. Holy crap, I actually got that right. Anyway, it's day 4, my voice is almost gone, and we've been working our asses off here, hanging out with all these really super cool YouTubers, so I thought I'd do this Viewers Comments just a little bit different from normal, and I'm gonna have my friends answer your questions. Check this out.
Can you do a long, in-depth review like HP42, but interesting the entire way through?
Was that a question for me or for Glenn?
How did we go from Pink Floyd to Bad Baby, or whatever the fuck that is?
It's a very simple answer. The world is full of more idiots than there are smart people with good taste. And that's always been true, but, you know, people have just figured out that you can make a lot more money off of idiots because there's way more of them.
On Gibson, if technology has improved so much, how has quality gone down? Shouldn't technology allow tighter tolerances?
Okay, so Tom Quayle here. If you look at any other industry that relies on technology to produce complex parts, let's say, so the aircraft industry, for instance, or the computer industry, look at a company like Intel. The better technology they have, the lower the tolerances for mistakes and for quality control. So why is the guitar industry any different? You would think if a company like Gibson had better technology, that their tolerance for mistakes and for issues in terms of quality control should go down. But they don't seem to have done. They seem to have got worse, which is really interesting. So maybe companies like Gibson should look at themselves and say, the technology they've got, we really ought to have our quality control and our tolerances be going higher. So that's my opinion on it. You should follow some of the other industries like the aircraft industry, where technology is employed to make tolerances as small as possible. Primarily it's an issue because obviously lives depend on that. Lives don't depend on Gibson guitars having good tolerances for quality, but still we're paying a lot of money for guitars, so they should be as good as possible and utilize the technology in order to create the best possible guitars. That's my opinion. See what you think.
Colin, love his channel. If I close my eyes, it's like Groundskeeper Willie knows a ton about guitars.
It was that sassy mouth that got you killed in the first place.
Hey Glenn, there's a band in my town whose singer refuses to take singing lessons. He gets angry every time someone tells him to do it, arguing that his voice is precisely what the band needs, because apparently punk rock singers don't necessarily have to be in tune. It might be obvious to the rest of us, but could you please explain to him why should he be working hard to become a better musician?
I had singing lessons from the age of 6 to 18, and it's not just about tuning. That there's so many other things to learn in terms of support, in terms of technique, that allows you to do what you do, but for a lot longer. So it's not just about tuning. It's just, it's not just about pitch. It's about making sure that you are able to sing for the rest of your life, because otherwise you get nodules and you won't be able to sing at all. So you should get singing lessons. And if all your friends are telling you to get singing lessons, especially the other guys in your band, then you should probably look into it.
Just curious of your take on bands utilizing a professional studio for tracking drums, but tracking guitars, bass, and Vox at home. Over the years, this has been the route most projects I've been part of has taken due to budget constraints. I'm sure you have a few, possibly more, nightmare stories of similar instances.
Personally, I don't do a whole lot of audio recording because I'm doing video. However, I do have some experience in the matter. And I actually feel that if you have quality enough musicians who know what they're doing, being able to put things together in places of different location to one another is really not a big issue, but it does require quality musicians who know their proverbial shit. I actually do know for a fact that the River Dogs, which is a band with Vivian Campbell from Def Leppard and Ronnie James Dio and all that, Rob Lamoth, the singer, Nick Brophy, the bass player who did the actual recording of the album in Nashville, and Mark Danzeisen, the drummer, who did his drum recording out in LA. Those guys recorded their album in separate places. You listen to the album and I defy you to be able to tell that it wasn't all recorded in one place.
Hey Glenn, where do you recommend a young engineer to do research to get better at mixing?
I think the best research for a young mixing engineer is really just to keep doing it. It's to keep practicing. You're not going to be good when you first start out. I mean, my first mixes are pretty terrible, but over the years, as I just kept doing it, started learning more about the gear that I was using, whether that's software or hardware gear, my mixes have gotten better. Your best research is going to be experience. for me, experience can't replace any amount of reading. You can read plenty about gear, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to use it.
I was wondering why people don't like electronic drums. What's wrong with them? Is it all about the looks? And yet they seem so practical and easy to set. Cheers from Dublin.
Yeah, they're absolutely easy to set up, but they sound, feel, and look like shit. That's it.
Any tips on buying a good power conditioner? I'm a bedroom musician, so I want something cheap, but how do I know what's too cheap?
The thing about power conditioners is I don't really know how much of a difference they make. I've never tried one myself. The idea is it's supposed to pull out some power noise from it, but really, does it work? I'll have to try one and find out. And when you say too cheap, really, just spend some money and get good gear. I mean, you could always just cut out the mids.
I've loved Gibson for years, but beyond the quality, their pricing has gotten ridiculous. If I want to spend $3,000 on a guitar, I'll take a nice vacation and buy a Chapman. The Legacy is amazing, but it only goes so far.
I kind of agree with that. I have a Les Paul, but it's a little bit older, so the newer ones that haven't exactly been my cup of tea, but I think if you can find a decent vintage one, it's not too bad, but not a huge fan of the modern ones.
Hey Glenn, I've been listening to a lot of Leo Moracchioli's covers on his channel. What is your opinion of him as an artist?
That guy sucks.
Glenn, do you have any tips for recording analog?
Okay, here's the thing with recording analog. The times that I have actually recorded a tape, and not going back to way back when, but just recently, like a year ago, 2 years ago, it's because there's something special about tape, which a lot of people think. But yeah, the reel is expensive. And when I talked to the reel manufacturer last year, I'm like, do you even sell a lot of this stuff? He goes, I can't keep it in stock ever since the Foo Fighters did it. I'm like, right, that totally makes sense. This is the thing about tape. There is no undo button. I'm stealing that one. There's no undo button. You're like, and if the whole band is recording at the same time, for instance, you don't want to be the guy that's screwed up. But that adds an element of urgency to your performance. You're like, Jay, okay, don't screw up, don't screw up. Oh, this is good. And then when you make it to the finish line, and you're like, woo, we made it! That's the best part about recording the tape. Aside from the warmth and the clipping that doesn't sound like shit because it's digital, there's something really special about, and this is the other thing about audio, analog recording, and I heard this from a Native American. Digital recording is man-made. Analog recording is magic. It's of the earth with the poles and magnetism and shit. It's awesome. Okay.
Dude, good job at making a crappy bashing review and promoting your no-name amp company. Also, that riff sounds worse than the Line 6 itself. Dino from Fear Factory toured with a Flextone 2, which has similar, if not the same, high-gain channels. Try using less crappy vocabulary and steer people in a better direction.
No-name amp company? Oh. What have I been doing for 4 years?
Hey Glenn, I have a question regarding soundmen. Are they all assholes? I've been playing some shows in my local metal scene, and at every show, the soundman has been a douche. Even if he does a terrible job, he is an asshole. Is this to be expected with every soundman? If so, why? Thanks in advance.
I don't believe that they're all assholes. I think what happens is that guys in bands have a certain perception of what their band should sound like, and then actually with what that sound man's working with in that venue, whether he can articulate that or not, and when it's just impossible, then that's when the fight starts and the frustration starts. So no, if you're in some shit-ass club and it sounds like shit in there and things aren't wired the way he wanted it or whatever, he's already upset, and then you come out and say, it doesn't sound right. He's gonna be pissed, you're gonna be pissed, your gig sucked. Just go with the flow. That's my recommendation.
The Henning Pauly, tell him to get his shit together and make another album with Sebastian Bach, and Absence of Empathy was brilliant.
Sebastian Bach. Really? Do you see that? You just said Sebastian Bach and An Absence of Empathy, and he's here. Honestly, I'd be afraid if I were you. Just don't mention that. Just don't mention that. It might have been a really brilliant album, but just don't go there, please.